Welcome to the I Love Coaching podcast, the show where we help coaches, entrepreneurs, and leaders build businesses that create massive impact. I'm Adam Roach, alongside my incredible co-host,
Jess Webber, and we're here today to bring you the best strategies, mindset shifts, and real-life success stories to help you level up in your coaching journey.
Whether you're launching your coaching business, scaling to 6 or 7 figures, or just looking for inspiration to push through, this podcast is your go-to resource.
We're bringing you expert insights, real talk, and actionable items every single episode. So if you're ready to take your coaching game to the next level,
then let's dive on in. Welcome back, everybody, to the I Love Coaching podcast. Jess, now, I will say that I only said welcome once, and I didn't introduce myself, and I didn't introduce you. How about that?
That's impressive, and I almost feel like our podcast can't start unless you say, welcome back, everybody, welcome back.
Listen to our podcast. I've heard the reviews, and I even have Mr. Steve Rupp. This is for you. He says, I love when you start your podcast, and he did. We got on a coaching call yesterday. He says, welcome back, Adam, welcome back. And I was like, wait a minute, are you making fun of me? And I was like, no, he says, that's what you say on the podcast. You said it twice. And he says, you also introduce yourself. I'm like, you're right. I know who I am. Steve Rupp, I love you, buddy. Yes.
That's so funny. But it is so true because I have noticed it, but I haven't internalized it enough to give you feedback on it. It's just, to me, it's like the trigger to start the conversation. You know,
okay,
it's that mental little
maybe
button.
We're on
push.
brand. Yeah, we're on brand with it. So I'll start again. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the I Love Coaching podcast. There we go. Okay. So Jess.
Yes.
I'm feeling spicy today. I'm feeling spicy today, and I want to bring some heat to our listeners. I want to bring heat to the listeners in many different ways, in a very functional, progressive, growth-oriented way, because we have a lot of stuck people out there.
We do have a lot of stuck people out there. Where did yours come from? Where did your spice come from?
It could be.
Was it something somebody said, or you know?
It might be the fact that Alan put me on a new menu plan, and I get to have it's like 1,700 calories. And Jess, I think I'm hungry all the time. No, It really came from having conversations with coaches that are, I'm gonna go a little spiritual here, that are trusting the enemy's lies. That's what I'm gonna say. They're trusting the lies that they're hearing internally, and they're not paying attention, right? And I'll even take some of our internal coaches in the community. We have a blueprint. The blueprint is very simple. It's very detailed. It is very purpose content that when followed, and I'm not even going to say 90 days because you could probably get this done in 30 days, but we say 90. You can have a 6-figure coaching business with one-on-one coaching clients. Now, here's the thing. It was intentionally written that way because that is just to get you launched, right? That is to get you launched, to get revenue in the door. It doesn't mean you have to be married to that. It is to get you in position so that you can keep the lights on, basically.
Yeah, it's designed that way to help you find success quickly, so that then you've almost earned the right to get creative. You know, it's the simple success before creativity.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. So what's got me spicy is some of these conversations I'm having with coaches that aren't in the community, that they're banging their head up against a wall, right? They're really banging their head up, and they're not paying attention, right? They're not looking. They're looking to change things up because they think that's what they need to do. But really, they need to go deeper in something, or they need just to make small little adjustments. So looking at our blueprint, that coaches on how to build 10 one-on-one coaching clients, if that's your path. And we say at $1,500, that's $15,000 when you get 10 of them. We don't take a penny of that. And now you can keep your lights on. Well, Adam, I don't want to be tied to a time for money standpoint. Well, if you have 10 clients and if you're coaching for 30 minutes, that's 5 hours in a week. Give me a break. You're not tied to anything at that point in time, right? That's 5 hours in a week. Told you I'm spicy.
Yeah.
And yet we have people that are trying to build group coaching programs. They're trying to just do things in a creative way. And then they come back to us and say, what, Jess? I don't have any money.
I can't afford to be in the community because I haven't made a dime, because I've spent all of my time trying to hire out people to build me logos and Canva booklets or websites or courses or anything. And you're exactly right. We wrote the blueprint And we teach what we teach in a way to help people figure out what is actually going to land, resonate, and eventually sell. So our entire framework and process, now you got me spicy, is structured to help you not have to turn your wheels or spin your wheels figuring out what to sell or do, because if you take the actions we teach, then that helps you automatically define all of that and then help you scale it from there. It's built with the end in mind, and yet people want to skip all of the activities and actions necessary to make, tracks towards that path. They're just like, I just want to stand here and then jump to there. That's not the way this is done.
So I brought something to you today, and I've got to give credit where credit is due. So this is from Craig Cooney. Craig Cooney wrote, if you go find him on Instagram, he is the Daily Prophetic. And he wrote, what was the name of his book? It's a daily devotional type book, though it's written a little bit in story form. And I'm absolutely loving it. So all of this came from what I read today, the 9 pages that I read today. And today was all about really understanding where are you? Again, let me pause this for a second. Yes, I'm not comparing us to God. That's what I want to say there first. I'm not comparing us to God. And what it was saying there was the theme is obedience to God, voice leads to breakthrough, even when logic, effort, and experiences says otherwise. Right? And so it was, I paraphrased in my notes, and it was because you said so. Right? Because you said so. And so then I went through that, and I with ChatGPT's help, I built an acronym. And the acronym that what I want to talk about right now, Jess, let me find it here real quick, is the acronym of A.G.A.I.N. Okay. And I want it to be again. And I want the listeners to hear this, because this is a breakthrough path. Right? This is a breakthrough path. So we'll go with the A first, Jess, and we'll just stay right there and talk about it. The A in A.G.A.I.N, A.G.A.I.N, is acknowledge what's not working, right? Okay. Acknowledge what's not working. So be honest about what used to work, but doesn't work anymore. Okay. And just understand this, y'all, frustration is feedback, right? Frustration is feedback. Yeah. That's what you have to say about the A.
I think that's it. I love that it's the first step, because I think in a lot of ways, it's the hardest step for people. They don't want to acknowledge when they're failing. They don't want to acknowledge their fears. They don't want to acknowledge that something they've put effort into is not yielding the results that they're expecting. And so I think it's very poignant to sit here and say the first step is to admit when you're wrong. If you're an AA person, not to make light of that, the first step is admitting you have a problem, right? And so that's very much where you have to start to be self-reflective and to step outside of the emotion that you're feeling, so that you can look at it with a more logical, more clinical approach, and then you can move forward with the rest of your acronym.
I love about that, acknowledge what's not working. There's so much transformation just in that A, because your ego, the enemy inside, is telling you that your ego is like, well, this is a good thing. I've got to know what I used to do, because that's going to work again. That's not always going to be true, right? If I take the simple approach to tennis, right? One point, one shot may work that point. Doesn't mean that shot's going to work the next point. Yeah. You got to acknowledge that. You got to see that. And here's what tennis players do. Then we get frustrated because that forehand cross court that should have been a winner didn't hit a winner again. And then we get frustrated. But our frustration isn't an education. Our frustration is, I'm not good enough. Right. And that's where ego kicks in. So y'all listen to that and understand that acknowledging what isn't working is such a great transformation process, because you're letting go of that ego.
Yes. And I want to say something slightly funny here. I'm looking at the ChatGPT image you just sent me with this acronym in it, just so I can follow along, because I'm a visual person. And it actually doesn't say frustration is feedback. It says frustration is feelback. And I actually really like that mistake.
Good.
Because it is. I mean, it is feedback, but it's something that you're feeling, right? And so I found that ironic that I'm assuming that's a ChatGPT error, and yet I think it's poignant in this is when you're stuck in those emotions and you're getting that feedback because you're feeling something, right? That should be your catalyst to be like, something needs to change. Not I need to, put on my superhero cape or pull up my bootstraps and grip my way through this, but it's I need to pause and be reflective and acknowledge what isn't working. So what do we do after A?
Yep. Now we go to G. And what does G stand for? Go deeper, right? So one of the things that Craig talked about in his daily devotional here is when Simon was fishing and said there was no more fish, and Jesus said, go out there and cast your nets deeper. That's where he got the fish, right? The fish came when the nets went deeper. So the G is go deeper. Lean in. Increase commitment. There's a big one. Increase commitment. If you believe you're in the right place, but haven't hit depth yet. Oh, that is such good language, Jess. I've got so many examples that I can share there personally. When I was inside of Keller Williams, I'll never forget. Gary Keller said this to me. He said, there's a book, many of you have probably read it, the One Thing book, and it talks about dominoes. And the domino effect is when one domino falls, the next one falls, the next one falls, the next one falls. Gary said to me, Adam, do not let your persuasion and your energy knock over the second domino before the first domino falls. Ooh, Gary, that was good. I didn't hear it at the time because my persuasion and my energy was, let me go knock on these other market centers' doors who I'm kicking their butts and say, hey, are you tired of me kicking your butt? Because I'll just buy your company and I'll grow it and you can stay inside of there. Very ego driven, but that was my approach. And guess what? I grew them all, but not at the point that I could have just stayed in one, gone deeper and taken that one from just under $1 million in profit to $2 million in profit. Right?
Well, what I'm hearing is making me think of an analogy that I've heard of choosing which way you go. So are you going to go an inch wide and a mile deep, or are you going to go a mile wide and an inch deep? And which one is going to yield better results? So that go deeper is your inch wide, mile deep situation. And it's the same thing of if you're seeking water, right? Digging a well, seeking oil, you got to go deeper. We know so often with working with so many different entrepreneurs that they love to throw spaghettis at wall and see what sticks, right? They want to try a little bit of everything, see what the market yields, and then follow that path. And so they never stay consistent long enough to go deeper. They're like, oh, well, I tried this one thing for 30 seconds, maybe 30 days, but usually not even that. And when they don't see the immediate results because they're looking for that instant feedback, then they're like, I'm going to go try something else and seek instant feedback and instant gratification or financial gratification from that. And so I think it's really important that you're exactly right. You go deeper on the thing that aligns the most with who you are and what you're looking to accomplish, and not throw spaghetti at walls.
Yep. Well, and a little bit goes back to 3 years ago when we got in business together. I had all these ideas. I had all these thoughts. I had all these, and you came in, did the Steve Jobs approach and said, no, we're going to focus on just one thing. And that's what we've done. And here we are, right? We have the real coach method, and that consists of the community and our blueprint. That's it. Okay, let's go.
There's one product and one service, and that's it. And yet we've delivered at a much higher level because we went deep on it.
That's right.
And all of the things that you wanted to do 2.5, 3 years ago either have been accomplished, are on the roadmap, or have been deemed unnecessary. So it's not that we just scrapped them all, but it was the fact that they were no longer the focus because we focused on just one thing. That has yielded incredible results to either, eliminate or absorb the rest of the things that you wanted to do.
I'm going to say this, Jess, in our character diamond, there is what's called kryptonite, right? So for those that haven't gone through it, the character diamond consists of 4 points. It is your North Star, your kryptonite, your quirks, and your passions. Going deep is an entrepreneur's kryptonite.
100%.
100%. Yep. A visionary's kryptonite is they go a mile wide and an inch deep. So entrepreneurs, I want you to hear this, that if you're banging your head up against a wall, pause, go look to see where you need to increase your commitment in something where you believe is the right space to go deep in. Okay, let's move to A. A is adjust your approach, right? Adjust your approach. Let's go back to the devotional today, and that's when he was talking about Peter. Jesus told Peter to, hey, go throw your net on the other side of the boat, right? So still stay fishing, but over here there weren't any fish, but over there that's where all the fish were. I don't know if I got Peter and Simon mixed up, but that might be the thing.
I love that you go to like spiritual devotions and my brain immediately goes to engineering and science. And so you say adjust your approach and my immediate thought is digging the hole. You've got your shovel and maybe you're holding it too low on the handle or something like that. And you need to, get a better leverage, better fulcrum situation. And I was like, oh no, if I say the word fulcrum, Adam's going to give me crap for it because it's another one of those things like trebuchet. But seriously, it's the same thing of you might be still digging that same hole, right? It's just you need to adjust the way that you're approaching it. Maybe you need to quit using the hand trowel and go for a full-fledged shovel or something like that.
Right.
Or since you like coaching things and tennis things, maybe you need to hire a coach to help you adjust your hold on the shovel. Maybe you need a different perspective. Maybe you need to go in a different direction, even though you're still doing the same thing. And I think that's a really valuable part to this is you don't have to do it alone.
Yeah, that's very, very true. So let me read what it says here is adjust your approach, reposition, small shifts, new methods, new angles, here it comes, can lead to big outcomes, right? And what's so neat about that, if we go back to the scripture, and again, I think it was Peter put his net on the other side. That's what Jesus told him to do. And that's where all the fish were. It was still the same. It was still the same water. It was still the same action that was fishing, though he just had to reposition himself a little bit better, a little bit differently to yield the outcome that he wanted. So when you follow these steps, Jess, this is why I love this acronym, because it is a breakthrough plan. When you go deeper and maybe just need to now adjust your approach, you will start to see results, period. Right? You're going to start to see results with this plan.
100%.
So adjust your approach. I like the idea. Yeah, you're right. Gosh, I had a breakthrough. I think we've got time here to share this. I mean, this past week in Puerto Rico with John Maxwell, for me, was such a spiritual movement for me. It was something that I wasn't prepared for, and it happened. And I had this outreach yesterday to a few people that have invited me to do things with them, right? To join certain programs, to join certain communities, to be a part. And I've said no all year long. And just, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I have the right people around me. I have the right who's. I just hadn't committed to saying yes to them because I had been trusting the enemy's lies that all I need to do is isolate myself and put my head down and go deeper. Meaning I had to just GSD stuff, right? That's what I was thinking I had to do was just go GSD. We've talked a bit about this on our L10s. We don't need to just GSD. We need to expand our reach, right? So we're not getting out of the boat, Jess. We're not fishing anymore. We're just repositioning ourselves. So I sent this text to a friend who had been inviting me to all these things. I was like, hey, I need to have an honesty moment here. I need to apologize because I had put myself into an isolation space because I thought I needed to keep my head down and GSD stuff. And while that is true, isolation is where the enemy can really take root and hold on to you. But I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to expand my reach and adjust my approach so we can go impact even more people. It was a good breakthrough last night. Okay, let's go to I. I is identify what you've learned. Reflect before repeating. Wisdom grows when you learn from the stuck points. So good. It is so good. What do you think?
Well, it goes back to being reflective, like you said in that statement. And I think that's where entrepreneurs especially struggle the most, is they are moving at such a fast speed because they have so many ideas and they want to make such a big impact and they want to see the rewards immediately that like I said in the beginning with your first A, they don't like to pause, stop, or reflect. And yet you have to do that throughout this process. So it's not even a one-time reflection. It's a acknowledgement of what's not working. That's reflection A. Then you got to adjust your approach. That's the other A, right? That's more reflection. Now you have to sit there and say, okay, here's what didn't work. Here's what did work. Here's what I've learned before you keep going. I think it's so important to sit here and say, okay, I'm actually going to be intentional with whether it's talking to ChatGPT, whether it's journaling, whether it's talking to another human. but being intentional about being reflective and saying, this is where I failed. This is where I succeeded. This is the lesson or the gap that I had. And now this is how I'm going to operate moving forward.
That's right. Yep. Love that. Let's land this plane with the N. The N is navigate forward with intention. And again, navigate forward with intention. Don't quit. Right? My father used to say this all the time. You will never, ever, 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 ever lose in life unless you quit. Right? You don't lose. That was being a bratty kid. I hated losing. Gosh, I would cry on the tennis court when I lost. And he's like, you didn't lose. You only lose when you quit. Move forward deliberately. Move forward with deliberate action. I love that. Even if, Jess, here comes a painful word, it's slow. Move forward deliberately, even if it's slow. And faith plus clarity comes with motion, right? When you have faith and you have clarity, now we got to go into motion. So what do you think about that one? That's so good.
I immediately think of the snowball effect. I've heard that in, financial things with Dave Ramsey. I've heard it in other analogies of taking action. But the idea of you start small with just a small piece of snow and you keep rolling it and it makes a larger and larger snowball, right?
Right.
And so that's exactly what this is you take action deliberately moving forward. You might not have your entire snowman built, right? But at the same time, if you stay intentional about taking action, you are going to yield results rather than stalling. And we use this analogy a lot of just expecting to build it so people will come, which means you're stuck in one place because you're stuck building, right? This is the opposite of that. So no field of dreams moment for you. It's take the action and the thing will build itself. The results will come. And so I love this navigate forward with intention, meaning you have to move. You can't stay still.
That's right. And it might be slow. So cool your jets.
Slow's okay because it's still progression.
Cool your jets. Yes, it's okay. Slow is okay. When I go back and look at John has what he has created, Maxwell, what he has created didn't happen overnight. The impact he has had on this world didn't happen overnight. He's written almost 100 books now. That didn't happen overnight, right? So just know that this acronym, again, let me repeat them real quick. A is acknowledge what's not working. G is go deeper. A is adjust your approach. I is identify what you've learned. And N is navigate forward with intention. Jess, great job. High five virtually. There we go. Woohoo.
Love it.
Yes, me too. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Go be intentional. Go use this breakthrough path and have success in your world. Jess, is there any call to action we need to have with our listeners?
As always, go ahead and, if you're not part of our email list, join our newsletter at ilovecoachingco.com. And we'll send out, the visual that goes with this episode when we send this out, along with other things. So make sure you're there.
Beautiful. Okay, everybody. We'll see you next time. Thanks. See you. Bye.